Welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9. I'm Paul Kretschmer with guest Alan White with a new concept in wind power.
Okay, I'm on the line with Alan White, who is the Chief Executive Officer for Windshine Electric Generators. Things are changing pretty rapidly, and you have your own ideas based on what's going on and what your technology represents. Perhaps you could introduce yourself for just a moment, sir, and then we'll get right into the meat of the matter.
Appreciate it. I've been a developmental designer and manufacturer's rep for the last 35 years. This patent I got about 12 years ago, basically to change the platform for wind from exposed blades to internalized blades, just like airplanes went from propellers to jets. It's optimal and available in wind, especially because it's scalable. Now we can do wind in the proportion that we need to, which is more personal and supplemental. No more 400-foot bird chopping windmills. And in the end, you get a lot more power, costs less, scalable. Our EV units especially will be able to do some operational recharge and have a self-crank function. So the EVs actually get better. There's a lot of potential out there for utilizing wind in a different form, but it's just supplemental. You know, we need, like I've said before, we need all the dedicated power we can: oil, gas, nuclear, even coal. The new coal plants, some people have no idea how actually clean they produce, but people wouldn't know that because the word coal is just, a bad word.
It represents,
the power's out there.
It represents old technology. It represents old technology for a lot of people.
It does, but what happens is it's so old because people used to just burn straight coal in their houses in the smoke. But what happens is the new technology with coal plants makes them super efficient. People would have no idea how absolutely clean the latest technology in cars is. And the problem with it is it's easy, cheap, clean power, and the tyrants of the world can't have peaceful prosperity.
There's been a lot of controversy to a certain point up here in Connecticut because there's been a plan by a company from Europe to work with a utility company here in Connecticut to put those kind of big, large windmill type things you were talking about a moment ago. Any particular reason not to expect the kind of technology you represent to replace that kind of thing if it is, you can demonstrate that it actually works properly?
In the near future, once they get operational, the old technology will come down because we will be much more efficient, much more productive, and can be sited anywhere. We'll be able to take down all those big ones and put smaller units on top of those towers, actually get rid of about half of them, and produce the kind of power we need. Large-scale, utility-scale wind is the only thing that keeps getting bigger in this world. I mean, we're building ships now to haul the blades out for these things, so we've gotten out of control, and we don't have to. Enclosed blades, scalable, allows for more coastal wind with ones that float. You can float ours much easier than you can exposed blades. There's a lot of benefits to enclosing the blades. Airplanes did it, faster, more efficient, and we can do it with wind.
There's been plans to take a pier that's been used for ships in the past, especially the kind that carry people, and convert it to a place where you can stage a large wind farm facility to. With what you're talking about, would that mean that a place like Connecticut could work with a smaller setup arrangement to prepare for installation of what you have that wouldn't require the kind of space and maybe the dollar expenditure to get it going?
Oh, absolutely. When you reduce the size of the hole and the expense of the hole gets less. The footprints gets less. Because again, you're trying to put it together in smaller amounts. You can be much more effective if you're trying to produce 1,000, just 1 meg or 2 megs of power than if you're trying to produce 6, and they can't produce 6 anyway. But it's a matter of just being focused on the size and then the availability. Because if you we have the ability to do now rooftop solar for homes and businesses and other things because now wind is scalable and usable instead of just in the utility size in the middle of nowhere. People have no idea that it takes railroad cars full of rebar just to build the base of one of those things. And the waste alone in that, I mean, that rebar could go to a lot of other building construction projects instead of just being stuffed underground under a windmill.
I presume this has application in parts of the country like the upper Midwest, where I've seen large bladed installations overlooking the interstate highways in Iowa and Minnesota, for instance.
That's correct. Yeah, those would all come down, and those towers would be cut down, and new units, much smaller, would be put atop of them, and they would eventually produce a heck of a lot more power than they're getting currently.
Yeah.
With no bird kills. That's the best bit. No bird kills, no whoosh noise, no shadow dancing, no none of that stuff.
So it sounds like it's what many people would describe as very green then.
It is in the fact that it's producing more power utilizing the wind, but see, green is a relative term. What does that mean? It's producing green money. Yeah, it's producing energy. Yeah. What is green power? I mean, just because it's not using a carbon catalyst to produce the end unit, it took a lot of power to produce the generators, no matter whose generators, mine, anybody else. I mean, I can't produce one generator without dedicated electric power from gas, oil, nuclear, you name it, and nobody can. We need dedicated industrial power, and we need supplemental RE power, and we can do both. And allows, if you mix the metaphors, what happens is the problems we have today, where these people think that you can immediately go from a dedicated power source like coal and oil to something that's variable, and make sure that your city runs all the time, and it doesn't, because people don't see power. They don't understand how it flows. It flows like water. If you have water coming to your house and it dribbles out of the faucet, it doesn't do anything. That's what PV power does. It just dribbles power in. It has to be stored. Where dedicated power, electric power, is push power. It's like you turn your faucet on, and you can get a shower, and you can wash your hands, and everybody's got pressure at every house down the street. So, you have to be able to have loaded, dedicated industrial power, and trying to do that with wind and solar has been a cash cow for some, but problematic for the others. I mean, we know how to make power. Let's make electric power.
Who would be the customers to purchase your units then? Would they be electric generating companies whose business is to produce that kind of energy output then?
Because they're scalable, we can go everywhere. We can do utilities, commercial buildings, residential buildings, portable units, our EV units for all EVs between car, truck, drone, aero, and then smaller micro ones because of, again, scalability and our very unique two generating surfaces that has been vetted out by 2 Nobel Prize winners. Our technology is going to change the way we utilize wind in order to produce supplemental electric power of all raises.
It sounds like it would produce a paradigm shift in places like California, where the government there wants, as much as possible, vehicles to shift to electric motor vehicles. But the question that arose in my mind early on when I heard about that was, well, where's all the electricity going to come from? Because we have a whole infrastructure that's over 100 years old that represents gas stations for cars.
Right.
How do you shift over to electric vehicles while still maintaining the upward development of the rest of the economy when electricity has to come from somewhere?
Again, it's sophistry and fallacy by the people who think they know better. But what happens is electric cars are, again, supplemental to ICE vehicles, just in output and need and convenience. Like you said, yes, you're not going to be able. You don't have the infrastructure to all of a sudden be able to run electric cars huge distances, and that's okay. We don't need to. If you want to drive 400 or 500 miles, great. I mean, you're going to have to stop and understand that challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it a lot.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
For further information about today's broadcast with Alan White, call us at 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049, or our email address, office@wihsradio.org. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.